Have you ever poured your heart into helping someone only to be met with indifference or worse, outright disrespect? You hold the door for someone, and they stroll past without so much as a nod. You go out of your way to assist a co-worker, and instead of gratitude, you get a snide remark. Moments like these make you pause and wonder, did I do something wrong? Is my kindness worth it? Before you start questioning your goodness, let's take a step back. The problem isn't your kindness, it's how, when, and to whom it's given. Stoic philosophy teaches us that kindness, far from being a weakness, is one of the greatest expressions of inner strength. However, kindness without wisdom or boundaries, that's a recipe for being taken advantage of. This isn't about discouraging kindness. Instead, it's about transforming your generosity into a powerful force that reflects your self-worth and values. Together, we'll unpack the timeless lessons of Stoic philosophy and explore how to practice kindness in a way that earns respect rather than diminishes it. So, stay with me. Every second of this message has the potential to reshape how you approach kindness, ensuring it becomes a strength no one can ignore. 1. Why your kindness works against you. Imagine a man named John, a kind neighbor who's always ready to help anyone in need. When his friend forgets their keys, John skips dinner to drive across town and deliver the spare. When a neighbor's gate breaks, he puts aside his personal projects to fix it. At first, his help is met with heartfelt gratitude, but over time, John's generosity becomes expected. One day he refuses a request because he's too busy. Instead of understanding, he's met with criticism. John begins to feel taken advantage of, wondering, is my kindness even appreciated? We've all been in John's shoes. Kindness, when given without boundaries, can easily be misunderstood or taken for granted. Stoic philosophy explains that the issue isn't kindness itself, but how we practice it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul is dyed the color of its thoughts." If your kindness comes from a need to please or a fear of rejection, your soul becomes colored by dependency. But when guided by values and self-awareness, kindness transforms into strength. Consider another example. Sophia, an outstanding employee at a large firm, often works late, taking on extra responsibilities without complaint. Initially, her efforts are met with admiration from colleagues and praise from her boss. But as time goes on, her dedication is taken for granted. One day, Sophia declines working late due to health reasons. The result? Her boss seems disappointed, and her colleagues find it inconvenient. That's when Sophia realizes that kindness without boundaries doesn't inspire respect. It breeds endless expectations. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that kindness isn't about unconditional sacrifice. It requires balance and wisdom. Setting boundaries doesn't diminish the value of kindness. It protects it from being exploited. Kindness that isn't rooted in confidence and self-awareness risks becoming a cycle of resentment for the giver and entitlement from the receiver. The lesson here is simple, yet profound. Give with an open heart, but don't forget to set limits. Your kindness is a precious asset, not an infinite obligation. When you practice purposeful kindness, you not only safeguard your dignity, but also elevate the value of your actions. Kindness shouldn't be used to seek approval, but to reflect your inner strength, something no one can diminish. 2. The fine line between kindness and loving. Everyone imagine a man named Mark, a dedicated father who always puts his family first. Whenever someone in the household needs help, Mark is there. He works long hours to provide, spends evenings fixing things around the house, and uses his weekends to chauffeur his kids to activities. At first, His family appreciates his dedication, but over time, Mark's constant willingness becomes an expectation. When he finally declines a request because he's too exhausted, he faces complaints like, "You always help, why not now?" This was when Mark realized that his unconditional devotion wasn't inspiring respect, but instead fostering unchecked entitlement. This story resonates with many of us. Kindness, when offered without boundaries, is often taken for granted or even exploited. Stoic philosophy teaches that kindness isn't about limitless sacrifice. It's an intentional act requiring wisdom and balance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your kindness stems from a fear of disappointing others, your soul absorbs the hue of dependence. But when your kindness is rooted in values and self-awareness, it transforms into true strength. Consider another example. Lisa, a dedicated nurse, goes above and beyond for her patients and even steps in to help her co-workers. Initially, her efforts are praised, but over time, they become an expectation. One day, Lisa decides to take a break to focus on her health, only to face criticism for not being as available as before. This is when Lisa understands that kindness without boundaries doesn't command respect. It creates endless demands. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that kindness should be fortified with mindfulness and purpose. Setting boundaries doesn't diminish your kindness. It elevates it. It's not a sign of selfishness, but a way to honor yourself and those around you. By establishing boundaries, you protect your kindness from being exploited and preserve it as a genuine act of goodwill. So, the next time you feel inclined to say yes to a request, ask yourself, does this align with my values? Am I giving out of genuine sincerity or fear of rejection? These questions help you assess your motivations and shape your kindness wisely. Remember, boundaries aren't walls. They're frameworks for building healthy relationships based on respect and balance. When you practice intentional kindness, you enrich your own life while transforming it into a strength that no one can overlook. Section 3. Being firm without losing yourself. Imagine Jack, a father known for his boundless kindness and enthusiasm. When someone needs help moving, Jack shows up with his truck. When a coworker is overwhelmed, he willingly takes on extra tasks. At first, everyone appreciates his generosity. Over time, however, Jack's willingness becomes an expectation. One day, he says no. He's exhausted and needs a break. Instead of understanding, he faces disappointment and even criticism. This scenario reflects how kindness, when not paired with self-assertion, can be misconstrued as weakness. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true kindness isn't about giving endlessly. It's about intentional giving rooted in personal values and balance. Kindness without boundaries risks exploitation and diminishes its own value. Consider Emily, a mother who always puts her family's needs first. She sacrifices personal time, hobbies, and self-care to ensure everyone else is cared for. At first, her family appreciates her efforts. Over time, her sacrifices become an unspoken expectation. One day, Emily decides to dedicate one evening a week to herself. Reading, practicing yoga, or simply unwinding. Her family initially resists, used to her constant availability, but Emily knows that without boundaries, she risks burnout and diminishing the value of her contributions. Through this decision, Emily learns that loving herself is just as important as loving others. Stoic philosophy reminds us that boundaries aren't barriers but tools to protect mental health and sustain healthy relationships. By setting limits, you not only protect yourself, but also teach others to value your contributions. A thoughtfully communicated no can earn more respect than a pressured yes. Kindness shouldn't come at the cost of self-abandonment. It must be offered with confidence, clarity, and fidelity to your personal values. This doesn't diminish your worth in the eyes of others. On the contrary, it shows that you understand your limits and live with integrity. By setting boundaries and learning to say no gracefully, you protect your mental well-being and inspire others to do the same. Kindness isn't submission, but a strength born from self-respect and sincerity. Section 4. Striking the balance between kindness and self-worth. A few years ago, I helped a close friend fix her car. She was going through a rough financial patch and couldn't afford a mechanic. I spent an entire Saturday diagnosing the problem, sourcing parts, and fixing the car. At first, she was incredibly grateful, bringing me coffee and pastries as a token of thanks. But just a few weeks later, when the car had another issue, she called again. This time, her tone carried an assumption that I would step in. That was the moment I realized kindness without boundaries can diminish its own value. Stoic philosophy teaches us that kindness must be paired with wisdom and clear boundaries. Without these, kindness can be misunderstood, undervalued, or even exploited. Setting boundaries doesn't make you less kind. It preserves your kindness as a genuine and voluntary act, rather than an obligation. Boundaries are not walls that isolate us from others. They are bridges that nurture healthy relationships. Take Josh, a co-worker who was always willing to take on extra tasks because he couldn't bring himself to say no. At first, everyone praised Josh as an amazing team player, but as his workload increased, he began to feel burned out and resentful. Eventually, he decided to set limits, declining unnecessary requests and focusing on his responsibilities. Surprisingly, this newfound clarity earned him more respect, not less. Or consider a busy mother who sacrificed all her personal time to care for her family. She gave up hobbies and pleasures, devoting every moment to her children and spouse. Initially, her sacrifices were appreciated. Over time, they became an unspoken expectation. When she decided to attend yoga classes one evening a week, her family initially resisted. Yet over time, they saw how this change brought her renewed energy and taught them the value of balance. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that kindness isn't just about giving. It's about knowing when to hold back. A kind gesture means more when it's done willingly and sincerely, rather than out of pressure to please others. Ask yourself, do I genuinely want to do this? Does this align with my values? These questions help you recognize when to say yes and when to say no. Kindness isn't self-sacrifice. It's a voluntary offering. Remember, kindness holds its true value when you maintain your self-worth and balance. Practicing kindness with wisdom and self-awareness doesn't just foster meaningful relationships. It helps you live a fulfilling and authentic life. Section 5. Turning kindness into a source of inner strength. Kindness is a beautiful gift we offer to the world, but sometimes that very gift can leave us feeling empty or hurt. There are moments when our kindness is misunderstood, overlooked, or worse, taken for granted. These experiences should never deter us from the path of kindness. Instead, Stoic philosophy teaches us that kindness must stem from an inner strength, a flame that cannot be extinguished, no matter how fierce the winds of ingratitude may blow. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The value of kindness doesn't lie in how others perceive or react to it, but in how steadfastly we uphold our moral principles. Imagine a coworker you tirelessly supported at work, only for them to take full credit for a project's success without acknowledging your contributions. The sting of betrayal is painful, but as Stoicism suggests, the worth of your kindness isn't measured by how it's received, but by your unwavering commitment to doing what is right. Kindness rooted in inner conviction doesn't require recognition to thrive. It exists because you choose to do what's right. Picture a mother who tirelessly prepares meals for her family, always the last to leave the table after cleaning up. If her kindness were tied to the expectation of appreciation, she might feel disheartened. But if she acts out of love and believes in nurturing her family, her strength will remain unshaken. Stoicism invites us to examine our motivations. Why am I being kind? Where does my kindness originate? If kindness stems from a need for approval, it becomes fragile. But when it arises from inner will and core values, it becomes unshakable. In healthy relationships, kindness is a genuine exchange that fosters mutual growth and understanding. It's the art of blending generosity with firm boundaries, empathy with reason. Kindness, at its purest, strikes a delicate balance between compassion and self-respect. When practiced with wisdom, it builds deeper, more meaningful connections. As Seneca wisely observed, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Practicing kindness with wisdom and self-awareness not only strengthens us, but it also creates profound, meaningful connections. Kindness isn't a sign of weakness. It's a conscious choice and an expression of deep inner strength. When you choose kindness as a reflection of your values, you earn respect from those who appreciate its virtue. By maintaining self-worth and balance, you ensure kindness becomes a powerful force in your life, a radiant light that protects and empowers you. Please follow for more videos